What's up, everybody? Welcome to CFP Talks. My name is Jonas, and with me, as always, is my main man, Mr. David Fuchs.
Let's go Knicks.
David,
Wait, do they
you gotta do me like that, man? You know I love when you say stuff like that.
what's I'm just curious, what do they they're not, they're opening up this Sunday. Oh no. No, they're not opening up till, oh, okay. All right. So you got a little bit. For
We
some
got
reason I
a,
was like, oh, he must have that up
we
because
got
of the
a little bit more. The preseason is in full swing.
yeah, and by the way, just for everybody listening right now, that this episode's coming out in mid to late November. So you're like, well, the season started already. We record these a few weeks in advance. So that's why we're having these, that's why we're saying the season hasn't
We're
started yet.
setting the tone for the season.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure.
So, David, let's talk a little bit about one of the topics that, like I said, we're a little bit in this kind of in between period. We're not quite yet into the March exam swing just yet. Let's talk a little bit about something that I think everybody struggles with a bit, which is I'm busy, right? My days are packed, and now my boss, my firm, my team, um, they want me to take this exam, or I really want to take this exam for my career advancement, but I'm already so busy at work. They're giving me so much responsibility that it's very hard for me to come home at, I already work till 6 p.m. By the time I get home from the gym, it's 8 o'clock, 8:30. I basically have enough time to eat, shower, go to bed, get up and do the whole thing again. How do I fit this into my life? It's a really hard thing for me to fit in because my life is already so full. So when somebody comes to you, this type of thing that they're, and I think to some extent we are all dealing with this of how do we fit this in?
Yeah.
What do you typically say? I mean, I know you probably have some advisors around your office who are probably feeling that way. You got a lot of responsibility. You want to have a weekend, when you get on Friday night, when you're done for the week, you want to be able to come home and chill out or go out on a Friday night and on Saturday, have a good Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, how do I fit this all in?
Well, the first mistake you just mentioned, and I'll go back about 30 seconds, is you got to work out in the morning. You can't be working out after work. That's a killer. I know you do that, but I don't know how anybody does that. That has a full-time, like relatively demanding career. I mean, that's just crazy to me. But
I don't
what?
know how you do it in the morning. Like I can never have the same quality of workout in the morning that I do in the evening.
And I'm literally the complete opposite.
I know, I know. We
But
would never agree on this. Hmm.
but I think that the fact of the matter is, I know, we're talking about, how do I fit this into my life? I have a job, you know, and honestly, if you're lucky, it's only really the job that you have going on. Because like when I took this, it was my full-time job, obviously, and I wasn't married at the time. Yes, we got the dog 2 weeks before, but like for the most part, for 90% of the process, like all I had was work and study for this. There's people out there that are taking this exam that are they have a full-time job, they have kids, they're married, they have a mortgage, like they have all this other stuff going on. And it's like, all right, well, how am I supposed to do this? And it's a really, really valid question. And I honestly I don't think, and I'm happy we're doing this episode, by the way, because if you haven't gone through this process, and like, let's say you're a first time test taker and you're not really exposed to it, you don't even know to ask yourself that question because you don't even necessarily think it's going to be that big of a thing.
Yeah,
I mean, you have an idea, but like, you're not thinking like, oh my God, how am I going to fit this in? You're kind of just like, all right, it's another thing onto my plate.
right.
But the fact is this, sorry, one more thing, and
Yeah.
then I'll throw it back to you. The fact of the matter is that how do you fit this in? You're going to have to sacrifice some other things. And we talk about this in a lot of other episodes that we do, throughout these cycles on, it's a team effort. You need someone at home that's going to help you. Your manager needs to know you're doing this. But the fact of the matter is to put as much effort into this to get to where you want to be on the exam, you got to sacrifice another part of your life socially, your work may, some work may have to be a little less productive, and you may need some help at home in terms of managing your household.
You couldn't have said it better. You're gonna have to make a sacrifice in some shape or form. And when I first started tutoring, um, I would get this question a lot. And I would say, in all honesty, I don't know, you have to find the time in your schedule because it's not going to work if you don't put the time in, right? So, and when people are like, okay, well, I'll wait till my kids go to bed and I'm going to do it at night. And certainly for some people who are like night owls, who like they come alive at night and they're very productive. They're like, my most productive hours are 9 to 11. At 9 to 11, I am brushing my teeth, washing my face, reading, and going to bed. And I think for a lot of us, that 9 to 11, we are winding down and
Yeah.
into
Yeah. I'm not like starting something new at 9 o'clock.
so, and I've been teaching, you know, full time for quite a few years now. I've had, maybe I could count it on one hand, the number of students who can do that night out thing,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, they thrive in that environment, but it's not something that's new for CFP. It's something that's always been ingrained in them. They're like, this is the way I study for SATs. This
Right.
is the way I
Yeah.
study for
They do better at night.
they just do better at night. And but for the majority of us, something is gonna have to be given up. And it's usually, and I'll tell you the one answer that it can't be is sleep. The thing that you're sacrificing cannot be sleep. It's gonna have
Right.
to be, I leave work early, or I get some time at work,
Right.
or I move my gym from in the evening to the morning. So then right after work, I can study the entire evening. So I got to get up early, and that means I go to bed early, and my schedule changes. Something is going to have to change. You cannot walk into this exam under the impression that you can just slop it on top of the rest of your life and that, oh, magically by just looking at the material, I'm going to get it and I'm going to go take the exam.
I think one thing, okay, so the sleep thing, 100, and we talk about this. You need to get sleep, you need to rest, you need to be able to be like charged and fueled to like actually get some production out of these hours that you're going to put into the exam. I think that's where most people have a very bad misconception. And they think that in order to get done what they need to get done for this, they need to be either up all night or up super early the in the morning to do this. And as if they're like investment bankers that are just working nonstop and it's okay, they're it's just what it is. If you're an investment banker, you're gonna be up till 3 o'clock in the morning and they're gonna burn the fuck out of you. And that's just what it is. So I think I'm happy we're doing this episode because if you're gonna sacrifice your social life, no problem there. If you're going to, unfortunately, possibly not be as productive at work, and assuming your manager or whatever is okay with it, your clients are okay with it, fine. If you are going to be slighting your family, like but you have a part, and we'll talk about this down the road, but you have
Yep.
a partner that's going to be able to take you, get you through this, and your kids are going to be okay. That's fine. But I agree with you. You can't sacrifice on the sleep part. I mean, listen, there's going to be some nights, yes, where you're going to be up super late because you're either taking a mock exam or you're just like, fuck, I want to learn this and I don't want to go to bed without actually finishing this. Like, yes, of course there's going to be late nights and there's going to be early mornings. But for the most part, don't sacrifice on the sleep. Don't sacrifice on your health because those are two things that, yeah, there's not going to be a question on those two things on the exam, but they're going to be helping you a lot
Yeah, and
to
it's
get
not
through.
sustainable. And so if you're looking at the study plan and you're looking at it as, I'm gonna just do this for 1 month and I can sacrifice my sleep for 1 month.
Yeah.
2 weeks, week one, no problem. You'll be okay. because you'll crash out on a Sunday, you'll crash out on a Saturday, and you'll get some extra sleep. You do it for 2 weeks, still okay. But after that 2 week mark, your performance is going to go off a cliff. You're going to start to feel burnt out. You're going to be moody. You're going to hate everybody. You're going to say, screw this exam, screw this podcast, screw everybody. I hate this. Sleep deprivation is certainly a real
Yeah.
thing, but you got to remember the reason that we don't sacrifice sleep is because you now are increasing your capacity of what you're doing, right? So it's no different than if I'm going to go to the gym and I'm used to running 1 mile every day, but now I'm going to start running three. Well, if I sleep less and I have to do more, how long does that equation balance out before either you're just sleepy all day and you can't get anything done, or the exam goes out the window, which is the more likely scenario, or you end up failing, which is the more likely scenario. So you're gonna have to sacrifice something. And I'll give you an example of the way that I did it when I was doing CFA. Now,
Hmm.
I was fortunate that I was not dealing with a family. I had a girlfriend at the time, and certainly that requires sacrifice on her behalf as well, because I wasn't as available. We would normally go out on a Friday night, we would stay out, we would hang out, and all of those things dissipated for that time period. So I would wake up early. I would get to the office by about 6:45, 7 a.m. I would take care of all my administrative tasks before my sessions. But I had to cut my sessions down when I started studying for CFA. I used to have sessions that were later in the day, and I cut 2 sessions out of my calendar. So those 2 hours a day that I was normally teaching, I was now actually getting ready to go home. So I used to finish at 6, but I started finishing at 4. I used to also start, my first session wasn't until 9. So I pushed everything up an hour. I would get to the
Yeah.
office more early. Now it was 8 to 4, and now my calendar ended at 4 instead of 6, which obviously changes the scope of my entire day. Now
Yeah.
I would come home at 4 o'clock. I would prepare something to eat, usually, or I would order something. More often than not, I would order something, or I would have meals prepped. I would take a break. I would walk home from work to decompress, take a break, eat. By 6 o'clock, I was studying from 6 to 9. I would have 1 hour before bed, and I was in bed by 10 because I would try to sleep from 10 to 6. Now, obviously, that completely changed everything because that wasn't my schedule. Now, what did I sacrifice? Well, because I was going to the office early, I wasn't going to the gym early. So I had to change my workout schedule where on Wednesdays, it was on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I worked out. So I changed my workout schedule. So
Yeah.
I'm still working out. And sometimes that Friday would go out the window because I was too tired. And so I'd work out Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, it's not an ideal workout schedule, but it was something. And obviously, in the weekends, because I wasn't working, I had a little bit additional time. So I would get up early, and I was at the gym at 7 a.m. That was not, I don't want to be at the gym on 7 a.m. on a Saturday or a Sunday, but I would go at 7 a.m. and I would work out till about 8, 8:30, come home and go through the routine again. But it was a completely different schedule. So for my girlfriend, we would have dinner on Saturday night, but I'm in bed by about 10, 11 p.m. That stunk, right? Now work, I cut it back, and I knew I was going to make less money, but that was the sacrifice for taking CFA.
Exactly. And that's something that you can sacrifice for that time period.
That's right. And I knew it was temporary. And then, when I would got back, I could resume business as normal. But for that period, and again, the idea that you can do everything exactly the way that you're doing it. For some of you guys, like for you, David, it was like you relied a little bit more heavily on Alex,
Yeah.
right? So you were relying more on your girlfriend at the time, now wife. Um, you were relying on your wife, now a little bit more. For some of you guys, you're going to be relying on your husbands or wives or partners. They're going to do more of the pickups and the drop
Yep. The cooking and all that.
cooking and the cleaning and all that stuff that you're normally accustomed to doing or helping with. It's going to get pushed on your partner. At work, that might mean you're operating at 70 or 80% capacity,
Yep.
or you're picking up and leaving at 3 o'clock every day so you can go home and study, or 4 o'clock, whatever that is. There is no night meetings, whatever that happens to be. But the idea that you can do it all, slop it on top of your life, and sacrifice your sleep, it's a non-starter. We will
Yeah.
never.
No, I 100%. Again, like, listen, you're gonna have to, again, the question is, how do I make this puzzle work? Boom. How do I make this puzzle work? And it's tough. And again, if you haven't gone through it, you may not know that you're gonna have to sacrifice something to make, all right. So we always talk about this, Joe, right? We talk about kind of emptying your cup or emptying your plate or whatever. Think about this. You have a plate full of food, you got your carbs, you got your protein, you got your veggies, you got this, you got that. You need to take something off of that plate to make room for studying for the CFP. And again, if you did, and that's why I'm happy we're doing this episode now, 4 months before, because chances are most people probably haven't started studying for the exam yet. Although if they listened to our last episode about getting started now, they should have. But most people may not have. So I'm happy that we're doing this to like kind of get this out there as a PSA. Like, listen, you're gonna need to sacrifice stuff. Here are the things that are on your plate. Here are the things that you could take off, and here are the things that you can't take off.
Right. Yeah, and your non-negotiables are your non-negotiables, but you almost have to think about it as operating. And I always tell people, whatever you think your capacity is, you got to get rid of stuff to get you down to 70%, because the CFP is going to take up about a third of your life. It just is.
Yes.
So if you're at 90, you have to take less off your plate. If you're at 80, you got to take less off your plate. But if you're at 100, you can't do all the same things that you're doing and expect that there's going to be some magic to, just the exam. I know what to do, and it's not going to happen.
Yep. Boom.
So with that being said, everybody, we hope you enjoyed this. Please make sure to like and subscribe the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to David or myself, and we will see you guys on our next episode. Take care, everybody.